All right, so this is the course submission, the course and student course section. So just to give you a diagram of what the course data submission looks like, typically this is submitted after the staff demographics and the staff assignment has been submitted. You would submit the course section and then the student course section. If you were to submit them at the same time, or perhaps the student course section before the course section file, you would get the infamous SE0139F2 error. And it is an error that we all will become familiar with. It identifies when you have a student course section record and no corresponding course section. There's several attributes that tie students to courses, um, and ties these two files together. And so there is a benefit submitting these records sequentially. A course section can be described as a unique instance of a course taught by one or more teachers in a specific location at a particular time. So if you think of um, elementary school, a course is exactly what we would think it is, or a classroom. A third grade class has most often a single teacher, unless you have two teachers in a job sharing or team teaching assignment, and you have your 20 to 30 students. That's a course. In high school, a single teacher may have what, 5 or 6 courses they teach, and so that would be the course. And there's several different scenarios. Sometimes a single class of students in a single period have multiple courses. So the course really relates to the content, but in general, point is most of us who, when we think of a course, it's represented the same in CalPADS. The student course section is just the enrollment of those students in the course on census day. You're tying those students to that course on census day. And so those students who are enrolled on census day, we want all the primary enrollments. You can't certify if you miss any of your primary enrollments. Uh, and then all of your short-term enrollments, or enrollment status 30. And so if you have an education option school and a student was enrolled at that school on census day, what courses did that student receive while they were enrolled? And then your secondary enrollments, you only get a warning. Fatal error will not trigger. However, if you have a student with a secondary enrollment, it's really the course curriculum that they are receiving that justifies that enrollment. It tells the CDE why the student has that secondary enrollment. So they would like that information as well. Again, not submitting it will not prevent you from certifying. So there's only really two types of courses in CalPADS, right? There's self-contained, multiple subjects in one course. Often we associate this with elementary school. However, it's not limited to elementary school. Self-contained can be taught in the secondary level. Then we have departmentalized courses. These are single subject courses, courses like algebra, biology, English, and theater. Typically, we associate these with secondary, 7th to 12th grade. Again, there are several different type of programs that have secondary subjects or departmentalized courses in elementary school. Anything other than State Course Code 1000 is a departmentalized course. So when you think of something like PE or music that are often taught at elementary schools, or if you have an art class, they would be departmentalized courses. They have their specific state course code. 1000 is the only self-contained or course code. So if you're at an elementary school, basically all your teachers are probably going to be 1000. We don't have a first grade, second grade, third grade state course code. They're all self-contained. It can be used for independent study, but independent study can also be reported as departmentalized courses. And then you have 7,000 to 8,000. These are CTE courses, and they are specific to only CTE courses, those kind of, ROP. And then 9,000 and above are all the other academic content areas. So these are your departmentalized courses. So we do want to point out, when you're reporting college courses, that you want to use the correct state course code. for your college credit. So if you have a college student who is taking Calculus 2, you want to use 9273. There may be a Calculus 2 state course code, but you don't use that. And then if you have a MOU or articulation agreement for your CTE courses and your students receive college credit, you want to use the CTE state course code to show the content, and that is the CTE course. But you also want to use the non-standard instructional level code of 23 or 24, and that tells the CTC or CALSAAS that it's a college course. Primarily so that you don't get a predetermined exception. So college courses that should be reported, this has always been the case, but they've emphasized it over the last 2 years. Courses that students sign up for outside of your school should not be reported. Only those that are or have been signed up for through your school. And some people aren't you know thrilled by this because they feel like they'll take a hit in end of year as far as the CCI, but it is what it is, right? And so there's the CTC CALSAAS definition. It specifically will say this is not when a student takes a college course independently or on their own. If you go to the California Dashboard Technical Guide, there's a PDF document specific to the CCI, and it defines college courses that are dual or concurrent enrollment programs that are innovative partnerships between public schools and local community colleges. So it's pretty plain, and the different uses of college courses that they're only looking for those courses that are relationships between the high school and the colleges. So the use of SEID 999, it's still useful and functional for specific scenarios, but the outcome, is going to be predetermined. So if you have a college course or college teacher who works at the community college and maybe never has worked through K-12 education, they may not have credentials, right? And there's a local assignment options that's attributed to this. That's why there's an importance on using the correct state course code so that CALSAAS knows to apply that local assignment option. And so if you use SEID 999 for any others, and this is just a generic SEID, it allows you to submit course records for staff members who may not have a SEID. You can't submit a staff demographic or a staff assignment. The generic SEID is not used to substitute a SEID or to allow you to submit teacher information. It's only used to submit course information when you don't have a SEID. Before CALSAAS, and even some of the older documentation talks about employed staff members. That's of no importance now. We're looking for who is providing instruction to the students, whether they're a contractor, they work through the county, or however. If you have the staff members' information, if you have their demographic information, their employment history, and you know what their credentials are, you should submit the staff demographic and the staff assignment for them. Now, there are situations where you don't have access to that information, and it is appropriate to submit the courses the students are taking with the generic SEID of 999. But please understand, if it's not a college course, it's going to be predetermined vacancy exception. And so you can see here on this slide that local assignment option 76004 is used for college credit dual enrollment courses, those that are reported appropriately. There's no action to take in CALSAAS. There's pretty much, it's not a ding. However, any use of that generic SEID and any other courses is going to be a predetermined vacancy exception. So when you're picking the correct course, you want to determine the content of the course. And the best document to determine the content of the course is the CALPADS code set. Course group state is what the course codes are called. And there's a definition for each course. So your curriculum and instruction, if they're mapping courses, need to be aware of the CALPADS code set. And then you want to consider what standards were used to develop the course. So you're going to have grade level standards and then departmentalized standards. And the departmentalized standards are, is it current standards, previous standards, are there no standards? No standards is not a negative. There are some courses that do not have state defined standards. If they have no state defined standards, they have no grade level standards. So there's an error when you're submitting your files. You have to use a combination of no standards and not applicable for the grade level standards and the content standard. We'll walk you through that if you get that error during the time, but that's generally what it's saying. Um, and I suppose most courses would be taught with current standards. I could be wrong. Maybe the old standards are better, but you identify that. The thing with the grade level standards is it's determined on the content of the course, not the grade level of the student is being taught to. So if a sixth grade student is taking a middle school math class, the standards would be mid, that's the code for middle school, not elementary. ELM is the code for elementary. And so that's something to consider. And then you have your EL services, which are a part of the course record. Oftentimes, we associate the services with the staff member because they're credentialed, but the services represent services the student is receiving in a course. And so it's part of the course record. It has always been in CalPADS. EL services require that first you have an EL student enrolled in the class. So that student had to be EL on census day. If a student was a TBD and determined to be EL in December, uh, that student is not being counted. Again, this is Fall2. So we're looking back to census day. The course record has to have the service identified. So you have to have an EL student. The course record has to be identified. So the education service code field identifies what services the teacher is providing. And then, of course, students have to be enrolled through the student course enrollment file into that course. Those are the three factors. And when you're looking at your reports 2.4 to 2.7 of EL students providing services or teachers providing services.